welcome to our latest webinar, and it's the last one for a little while. We're going to take a little break over the next few weeks whilst we prepare for the September to November, right into December series we're going to be doing. And this week we're going to be talking about how we're helping forces across the UK to address the harm of burglary by enabling our officers and staff using modern connected technology. And let's be honest, we're going to be talking about a little bit about 365 technology today, as always. So thank you and welcome to today's event. I'd really like to thank our guests for coming in today. And we're going to get heading north a little bit today. We're going straight up to hear from DCI Doug Blackwood, who's joined us. Like many of us in policing, Doug wears a number of hats, and I'm not just speaking about the police issue helmets that we've got. Alongside Doug's day job, he also supports the NPCC burglary portfolio and helps force tackle this crime. I've also got Matt. Unfortunately, Matt, I hadn't got a picture of you handy this morning, so I've popped your company logo in there, and Kevin's in there as well. And we'll be hearing from them. They're from Tisski, who are a gold partner, and they provided some absolute expertise on the development of this solution and approach, and we'll explain a little bit more about that shortly. And of course, we will demo the app and explain how you can get it implemented into your Force IT, because as we speak, it is going live into the solutions catalog right now, so it will be available for you. You don't have to work in policing for very long to recognise the distress that burglary causes to the victims. It is a real personal crime. The thought of a stranger entering your home and taking your personal items is horrendous, and the impact can last a long time. And if ever you've been a victim of burglary, it's something that you will always say you have been. And have you ever been a victim of crime? It's probably one of the ones you'll come up with first of all. So Doug, I'm going to come to yourself first, and perhaps you could start off by outlining the challenge that you had, and who was the person who outlined that challenge to you?
David, thank you. I'm a staff officer for Alex Franklin Smith, who's the national lead for burglary, residential burglary. Alex and myself met with Kit Malthouse, who is the ex-policing minister now, and he put it really succinctly. We've got this uplift going on where we've got 20,000 new cops coming through. How do we translate the experience of that 25-year seasoned frontline investigator who knows how to investigate burglary and ask the right questions at the right time to that front line by giving them something in their hands that they can use to structure their conversation and provide the right advice at the time to that victim? So the gauntlet was laid down by Kit Malthouse last year, and then from there we decided, instead of going to paper or email or lots and lots of different sorts of media messages, we'd provide one single envelope with everything in it to do what we need to do. And the PowerApp is that ability to give something to UK policing for free to do that.
That's fantastic. And so what does the app do that forces don't currently have?
Okay, so the app really clearly is consolidating what most forces have got across different systems, different bits of paper, different tick lists and different spreadsheets. The app gives the officer in the palm of their hand a Wikipedia around the best practice advice that you in your force want to give to frontline officers, and you can bespoke it to what you need. It provides the question set that seasoned investigator should be asking, and the question set is based on evidence from the academics who've been looking at burglary for the last 15-20 years or more, to make sure we ask the right questions that give us the best opportunity to detect the crime. And lastly, the app provides the ability to contact the victim straight away after our engagement and provide bespoke, proper advice which we know will reduce crime moving forward via email. That's what the app does, and it just puts it all in one envelope with a bow around it to enable that frontline cop to do their job better and quicker.
And the beauty of this is it will all work in all our forces because it's going to work on the 365 platform. So I'm going to go over to Kevin next from Tisski, and he's going to take us through a demo of the app. So Kevin, can you talk us through what the app is and take us through the demo when you're ready?
Yeah, sure. So I'll give a brief overview of the app. and then we'll dive straight into the demo. So the app itself is a Power App built around the concepts of a SharePoint list as its data source, so holding information around burglary incidents and all the pertinent information around those elements, but in a way that means officers can get an app in their hands, solving problems, taking data at the scene of the crime, for instance, and not having to dual key or double write stuff down later. So taking the in context data where it's needed in a simple, intuitive app. So with that, what we'll do is we'll dive straight into a demonstration where I'll walk through a typical scenario of using the app. You'll see all the screens involved in it, and hopefully lots of information about how it all works and hangs together. Okay, so I'm now going to just share my video. Hello, and welcome to this demonstration of the Burglary Power App. In this demonstration, you will see how quick and easy it is to use a Power App to log the details surrounding a burglary case. We'll explore the app and go through a dummy scenario from start to finish. So let's jump straight into the app, which has been designed to be user-friendly and intuitive. We have the main navigation screen in front of us, and we can click the Best Practice Advice button to give us in-app knowledge around current best practices. Going back to the main navigation page, we've built in a feature to enable a dark mode color switching to help users with viewing the app in different light conditions. So let's go ahead and create a burglary incident. We do this by clicking the Create New button and filling in the incident ID and crime reference number. We then hit the Create button and our record is created. We are now navigated to the main incident page, where we can see an overview of the options available to us. We can see how many questions we have remaining to gather and further actions to consider. So let's click the location questions, where we can fill out the answers to common questions about the location of the incident. We need to fill in any questions denoted with a red asterisk. We have a combination of free text fields, multi-select drop-down menus, and buttons like the Locate Me option that will use the phone or computer's GPS location to provide latitude and longitude references. In this example, we are selecting a house on a main road that is normally occupied, and we click the Save button in the top right-hand side to complete the section. So let's move on to the offence details by clicking the offence section back on the main screen. It is important to note that not all fields are mandatory, but the more information you can gather, the better the overall detail will be. So again, we are filling in the details around the specifics of the burglary, including the offence types and how access was gained. In this example, we're showing how force was used to enter a property through the front door before exiting out to the rear of the property. It is worth noting that some fields are conditional based on the previous input. For instance, if entry type suggests that force was used, a new field called type of force will appear, giving context to the data being input. We continue to fill in the details regarding the offence, such as timeframes and the items taken during the burglary, before updating the record by pressing the Save button again. The questions have been designed to be force agnostic and cover common data requirements needed for all police forces in regards to incidents of burglary, meaning it is incredibly easy to adopt without requiring massive amounts of change. As you can see, we haven't filled in all the details required, but we've completed the mandatory details, closing out the section. Next, we fill in the victim details, including the full name, email, mobile phone number, and any specific risk factors regarding the victim, such as if they live alone or if they're elderly. Now we can move on to our report details section, where we fill in information relating to data collection and any actions taken by the force, such as if the crime scene investigators are attending. We can now move to our actions section that allows us to upload photos or begin doing house-to-house checks to see if any neighbours have any information. Again, we fill in the logical details and grab the pertinent information regarding the incident, but there are 3 text boxes for anything outside the standard queries we would expect to ask. We can add multiple house-to-house records related to our incident. In the example we are using, we can see that we've filled in details of a neighbour who noticed a male in dark clothing hanging around prior to the incident. Now let's manage the photos by clicking the Manage Photos button and adding a photo. We give the photo a description and then we click the image icon to upload a photo. Once the image is uploaded, we can preview the image as well. Now at this point, we haven't submitted our incident record, but if we click out of the record back to the main menu, we can see our unsubmitted incidents. By clicking on the incident, we can go back into the record and continue adding data to it. By clicking the menu icon at the top, we are presented with various options regarding our record, such as saving the record to the local device if you're in a low signal area or need to continue working on the record. Or you can upload the record to the SharePoint list backend as in progress, which will store the incident for you, allowing you to amend it at a later date. With the inbuilt search feature, you can search for incidents using either the incident ID or crime reference number, which will then pull the information of that record back down to your device. We can now amend the record further as it is still in an in progress state. Going back to the Actions menu, we can now email the victim, providing them details of advice and guidance on preventing further burglary incidents. We can provide PDF documentation on securing garages or how to choose a burglar alarm for their property. We can also email the landlord of the property if the property is rented, providing them with details of the crime, including pertinent information specific to landlords. Here are some examples of the emails generated, including the attachments specified in the record. Now we are at the point of closing out the incident record. We do this by clicking the menu in the top right and clicking the Upload as Complete button, which will save the completed record to the SharePoint list, effectively closing the burglary incident record. When the record is closed, an email is generated to the creating officer that details the incident, including any photo attachments. Now let's take a quick look at the SharePoint list, which shows us the record details in full and contains all the information we recorded within the PowerApp. The data can be exported into other systems. We also have the potential for direct integration to common policing platforms as well. For systems where double keying is common, looking into robotic process automation routines may help ease the burden. Thank you for watching this demonstration of the Police Burglary app.
Thanks for that, Kevin. And there's a lot of questions that are going to fall out of that, and we will come to Luke's question in the chat or in a few moments. But a lot of in this app has been developed for policing by policing, and you worked with partners, in particular Doug, and use Tisski to complement the skills and, importantly, the capabilities and capacity of the police tech team. We often think about commissioning a whole project out in policing, and sometimes this is perhaps an example of where you, working with Doug, have only added the bits that you had more value to add and allowed the policing bit to do this. Could you explain the benefit of working perhaps in a slightly different way than we traditionally do?
Okay. So what I will say around that one is we're not policemen. We don't have the necessary experience in some cases where we're able to understand exactly how frontline officers were using things. That's where blended working with people like Doug, who give us that experience and jumpstart our ability to help frame and build apps like this, becomes really, really key. So we bring the tech experience and the ability to absorb knowledge and understand and be aware of, why police officers might use something in a certain way, or routines and how they actually work with data. And Doug and the team bring the experience of this is how it will work in reality. So always blending back stuff that ultimately technology can solve a lot of problems, but if you don't factor in the frontline officers who have to use the tech, you're going to lose a lot of people on that journey. So making sure that we understand and are aware and build that understanding and functionality into our designs is really, really key. You could build the best system in the world, but if people don't use it, it has no value. So working alongside Doug and the team to deliver upon that and making sure that the experience is as fluent and as easy for frontline officers as possible, especially those that, as you mentioned in the outset, might be quite junior to the role or not have years of experience, is really, really key. Condensing that information of an officer with 20 years of experience and what you should ask and what you should do into an app that then is used by frontline officers is absolutely key. So our blended approach, working with forces together in partnerships to deliver stuff like this, is absolutely crucial.
Thank you, Kevin. And I'm going to come to Doug, and I'm going to slightly change the order of the plan a little bit and go straight into the question that's come from Luke from West Yorkshire Police. A lot of the questions appear to be repeats from the RMS or the niche platforms. What's the benefit of asking officers to duplicate this information? And perhaps could you explain where that all fits into the standardised way of doing this?
So I'm going to break this down into bite-sized chunks. I'm a cop. I hate repeating information and typing the same data into different systems. So that's the starter for 10. What we haven't done in this app is try to build it to work with the different RMS systems across UK policing, because we'd still be building it now. We wouldn't be there. What we have done is when you put all this data into the app and you press submit, you as the officer will receive a structured email with all the data contained within it in a structured way, which you can cut and paste into a niche occurrence, a connect, entry, or whatever system you're using. And that structure is there. Now, when I was a DS a few years ago, my biggest bugbear about reviewing burglaries was different people wrote up stuff in different ways. So you can never identify what had actually happened quickly. As it's a structured data set that's coming through each time, when you're doing that burglary review in the morning from your crime reports, you've got that data in the right format on your crime to look at. So that's stage one. That's where we are now, and that is out the box now. You get your email in and cops can immediately cut and paste it into the crime system they want.
And it's an important point, Doug, isn't it? This device is for use in the field. This is an app where, on your mobile device, a tablet or a laptop, through the WIT 365 environment, it's not perhaps where you'd be actually entering the final record.
No. The other bit with this is you can search for records. So your call taker or your FCR could create the contact details, the address information, and then you in the field could pull up based on the crime reference or the log or CAD number and pull the data out and carry on with that record in the field. The second point is we do want it to talk to Leash, Connect, Athena, Mark 43 and all the other different systems that are out there, and we really want to get on with that. We need forces to adopt PowerApps, we need forces to embrace it, and then we as the community can go back and start that process. The art of the possible is there. It's simple to do, he says, not being a techie in the room, but the concept is simple. It's just we need forces to start looking at PowerApps and going with this program. But all the fields in this program can be mapped and can get on straight onto the RMS systems, and that's probably the next step in about a year's time, I would suggest.
Thanks. And it's not just having the data in a standardized format that benefits at a local level. You're part of the Operation Opal approach as well. So how could a standardized data set help burglary and from a national point of view?
So we have a central Opal analyst that looks at burglary crimes across the UK. We've got the ability with this app to push the data from the SharePoint lists using Power Automate, which is free to every force, and we've got it with 365, to send it direct to Gemma in Operation Opal to start looking and seeing what the national trends are quicker. We know that central collation of data means that when lock burning becomes an issue again, We can go to the industry straight away and tell them what the issue is and get the design standards changed. We're going to be able to be a lot more flight of foot and react quicker to the trends as they come. And we all know there are travelling gangs that travel across the UK committing burglary. We can start mapping that really quickly now, where before it was a lot harder to do.
And I think, you know, the force remains the controller of that information. So you wouldn't be sharing the personal details of the victims, but you'd be sharing the really helpful facts, the general locations, the MOs, the method of entries, all those sort of things as the things that makes the difference. I'm going to come back to Kevin in a second around the integration issue. And so in terms of the app that's available on the solutions catalog as we speak, out of the box, you're getting the collection thing, you're getting the help in terms of guiding the investigator, the responding officer, but we're always going to get that question around the double key. But there are opportunities for things around robotic processing or full integrations. Is this where the Tisski and the PDS business engagement team can come in and help?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have created this app to solve a problem in, you know, real world scenarios that you've seen today. And it's not going to be fully featured across every single RMS system out there, because as Doug mentioned, you know, we'd probably still be developing some of that today if we were trying to get everyone on that platform and working in that way. So what we've done is take an approach to it that allows the data to be quite quickly and easily exported into other platforms as necessary. But that doesn't stop or preclude you from having integrations if that's what's needed. That frankly, we deal with integrations all the time in various different systems and guises, including, you know, the policing world with some of the other work we've done with other forces. So it is achievable. This isn't you know, pie in the sky idea. It's something that can be done. The data mapping, as Doug, you know, rightly pointed out, is already there in a lot of cases. So it's got to look vaguely similar to what the other platforms will be requiring for this sort of information anyway. So there's no complex data mapping exercises. It should be quite quick and straightforward to take from A to B. And that's where we come in. We can help with that journey. Firstly, there's multiple options. So you have the ability for like full deep integrations. So something comes out of the Burglary app into the SharePoint list, straight over to your RMS systems. So that's a potential option. If that's something that's feasible for your force, you know, by all means, reach out to the PDS and Tisski and we can help you with some of that. But there are other options as well. So we mentioned robotic process automation, which basically is a capability of scraping data from A to B and using you know, robotic processes and artificial intelligence to do that for you. So ultimately records and screen records what you do. Perhaps it might take a look at your email to pass all that information out and pass it over to another system in a sort of workflow. So there are multiple options, but I think it's one of those ones where each force who is potentially using the Burglary app has a lot of options available to them. As Doug mentioned, you can quite frankly copy the information in a standardized format that comes out of the email and just pass that straight over as a real increase and benefit just from using the app. So you're not having to reinvent the wheel and handcraft, you know, stuff from A to B, not sitting in report writing rooms for ages collating notes back into something that then is tangible. You have a format, it's quite lift and shift. So even in the most basic usages of the app, it's still much better than probably what most forces might do today in some of these areas, which might be paper-based, might be in different systems, might not be field-based, etc. So you lose a lot of context. So there's plenty of options available there.
And I think that's a really important point, is that the primary objective was to improve the experience of the victim of burglary and improve the experience for the officer that's involved there. And I think that's one of the key things. And, you know, Doug, in terms of the frontline officer, this is the MVP, this is the starting point of a journey. You know, where do you see this going in the next few months and as we continue?
So for me, this is giving the tools of the trade in a simple envelope to that frontline officer to give them the best possible start in investigating a crime, that lift off. To get to that, we've sat down with the College of Policing, we've sat down with a load of forces and the academics and designed what we need. The best practice envelope in the app can be crafted to what the force wants. There's nothing here from the centre saying you have to do this, that or the other. You can create some PDFs, drop them in to the right bucket in the SharePoint list, and they'll appear on the app. Exactly the same for the victim information that you want to send. It doesn't have to be a garage PDF or a house PDF. You can put what you want in the app. For me, where it's going is allowing forces to upskill their frontline staff quicker by holding their hand and giving them that virtual hug through the app and allowing them the confidence to ask the right questions and get the right data. The second bit, the data behind it, the questions are asking about vulnerability. Cops are asking us, but we're not actually doing anything with it. We know that if you are over 65 and live alone, you are more at risk of being burgled again. Now I've got that data and I can give that through a SharePoint search through Power Automate to that local neighbourhood policing team for that area, and we can do extra wraparound. It's all in one container and it's a lot smarter working. Yes, we could use more complex systems to do all this, but keeping it simple for now is probably the right way in policing, rather than trying to over-engineer it. We've got the tools, and let's get it moving, and then let's get the user community working and get other people involved and build it from there. I know the robbery version of me is really interested in doing something for robbery like this, and it will start building traction to give frontline cops the ability to have the most accurate information at the palm of their hand, and that's probably where we want to go. And that is going to be discussed at the Serious Organised Crime Conference in Cardiff in September.
Thanks, Doug. And I think, you know, there's a lot of things it could do. This isn't the finished article by any means, and we'll cover that. And the app that's available in the App Store is the minimum viable product. It's the basic stuff. There is no support with that. It's like all the other Power Apps. Instead of it being developed just for one force, it's been developed for policing, so you can all use it and make that point. But you can get in touch with the business engagement team. The Tisski will help connect it all together to see how it can be most suited to your use in the force. I'm going to get to some questions, and I really want to thank Kevin and Doug so far for some of the questions. So first question I'll pick up on here: can multiple officers work on the same record at the same time? Draw down the safe data, so there's PC responding in the golden enquiries and then the PCSO completing the safety advice. Doug or Kevin, who wants to take that one?
I'll take that one. So, or Doug, you want to take it?
Go for it first, Kevin. I'll fill in the gap.
Okay, so what we'd say with some of this stuff is that you have the ability for multiple officers to work on stuff at the same time. However, what you might find is that they're updating information that they might have already put in. So one of the things that I'd say around this is guidance wise, it is achievable. We can put elements in that would extend this further, but you probably want the original officers dealing with this individually if possible. But there's nothing stopping the likes of central units creating records and then passing them over in a baton sort of fashion. So in part of a relay race of dealing around that. So making sure that people are maintaining the integrity of the data is key.
Absolutely. And Doug, to add to that?
Yeah, if you've got the privilege of being able to be double crewed and two cops are attending the same scene, one officer could create the incident and do all the victim, offender, and all the other sort of stuff, while another officer went off and did the house to house, and it would merge. The key here is communication, so you know what you're doing between yourselves. If two people were taking the same information, it would go wrong.
Thank you. And the question about what licenses you can use, and I'm sure I can answer this one straight away, is that this works on the standard blueprint out of the box. It's when you want to start doing the integrations, that's a different element, so you'd have to consider that. But this will work in all forces. That's why it's on the solutions catalogue. We've checked it against the blueprint. We've worked with Doug and Tisski all the way through to make sure that this was interoperable. And it obviously reflects the PDS poll standards that have just been published as well. So again, we're trying to move to this in line with the police digital strategy about all being able to use connected technologies, common data standards, so that we can eventually get to the point where we can implement things a lot quicker across different platforms. So we are working through that on those ones. There's a couple of technical questions coming in here. We'll probably take them outside of this in terms of why it's in a SharePoint list and not the Dataverse. I think policing is quite young into the understanding the Dataverse. This works, it's deployable and it's ready to go as it is, and I'm sure there's other ways we can do that, and we'll pick those things up. And again, there's an offer there to some help in terms of whether we can use the digital garage to help develop some of the integration options as well there from Matt. We're out of time. We always are with these webinars. They fly through, as we always do, and I'll just pop a couple of things on screen. So as we mentioned, this is available on the solutions catalogue straight away now, so I'll pop that on screen. You can see the QR code, scan that. That'll take you to the public facing elements of the solutions catalogue. You can see it's actually got a little placeholder in for this app there now. You'll be able to access that. If you don't already have guest access to PDS, there is a link through there where you can request it and get access to the solutions catalogue, the enabling centre, and importantly the force collaboration channel. So if you're developing something like this, you can drop a note into the channel and we can talk about and get those supports. As I mentioned, we're going to take a break from webinars for the next few weeks. So again, you can watch webinars anytime. Why not keep this Wednesday midday slot as half an hour of organisational learning? There's the best part of 70-80 webinars online there. We'll send out some reminders every week, but you can go in and replay on the webinars, pick up what's going on there. And of course, we will be back with the webinars back in the middle of September. So you'll be able to join us again on them. There's so many things going on around the 365 and the police technology space. The business engagement team are there to get involved with us. Do reach out through the PDS website, fill in the contact form, and we'll connect you with the right person. It's really important that we start sharing and using the collaboration tools we've got there. The solution we've seen today is a fantastic example of another element of the police digital strategy, of us transforming the tech market, where we're working closely with the suppliers to bring their expertise, skills and capacity alongside the frontline policing to develop a solution that actually works for us, that is a starting point and allows the further things to integrate, and that commonality of being able to use the same technology in different forces at the same time. And that's what we're really trying to achieve, because we can achieve so much more like that. So thank you for joining us. Hope you join us again in a few weeks time. So we haven't got to all the questions. If you do have any specific questions, and I'm thinking John over there, if you want to reach out to the business engagement team, we'll connect you up, get you connected and answer those detailed questions for you. But hopefully you can join us again in a few weeks time when we're back. But in the meantime, keep watching the webinars, and thanks very much.